This is Gemara Zevachim Daf Kuf Gimel. We're holding towards the bottom of Kuf Beis and Beis. We're smack in the middle of the wide lines. First word of line is Hame Chate. All the learning for this month, the month of Teves, has been generously sponsored as a Schos Aliyas Neshama for Aryeh ben Ya'akov V'Siyata D'Shemaya. The incredible Kayach HaTorah should continuously elevate the Neshama of Aryeh ben Ya'akov closer to the Kisei HaKavod V'Siyata D'Shemaya. Says the Gemara, we're discussing a Tvul Yom and different parts of the Tvul Yom. So Amar Lei, so now we're actually in the middle of a conversation between a Tvul Yom and between one that is Tahar. This is really a direct continuation of the previous Gemara, how each one says his part. So Amar Lei, tell me Machazeh V'Shoik. So the Tvul Yom says, give me the Machazeh, the breast, the Shoik, the thigh, and what? V'Oichal, and I'll eat it tonight. Amar Lei. So the Kayin, whose Tahar says, in a case in which you had a strong Kayach, a Tvul Yom is a strong Kayach by the Chatas, in the fact that the Kohanim receive on the Chatas the entire basar of the carbon, and yet Chisischa mechatas Yisrael, and yet you can be pushed away from a Chatas Yisrael. In a case in which you have a weakened Kayach by the Shlamim, that what? Because the Shlamim, you do not get the entire carbon, you only get the Chaz V'Shaik. Is it not pasha that I can push you away from getting the Chaz V'Shaik? So the Kayin tells the Tvul Yom that you're not getting the Chaz V'Shaik. But now the Tvul Yom responds, but wait, it's true that I'm pushed away from a Chatas. The reason being is because there's a lower Kayach by the Chatas, and the fact that it cannot be shared with his wife and with his avadim. Yet, you want to push me away from a Chaz V'Shaik, which on the flip side, I have a higher level of strength there that I could share it. So that's again the balance back and forth. So there, so the Tahar Kayin says, the Torah says, like Kayin has It goes to the Kayin who does the Zrika of the Shlamim, but Zreik V'Eichel, come, throw the blood of the Shlamim, V'Eichel, and then indeed you'll get to eat a Chazeh V'Shaik. So says the Gemara, the Tvul Yom is not allowed to be makar of the Shlamim, and therefore you do not get the Chaz V'Shaik. Meaning, if you could come and be Zeraik, if you could do the Zrika, then you'll get the Chaz V'Shaik. Since you can't do the Zrika, you're not going to get the Chaz V'Shaik. Yatza Tvul Yom. So after this lengthy conversation, the Tvul Yom leaves Kulav V'Chamurav Al Reishav, all the arguments on his head. Einin Miyaminoi, V'Chosek Kapara Mismalai, the Einin on the right, V'Chosek Kapara on the left. They as well, the Einin and V'Chosek Kapara, are as well similar to the Tvul Yom, not able to perform the Avaida, and therefore they as well do not get a chilek in the karbanas that they were trying. Says the Gemara, so with three different cases, Einin, Tvul Yom, and V'Chosek Kapara. Says the Gemara, 8 lines on the bottom. Parach Ravachai, fracture Ravachai, Lemalei. Why doesn't the Tvul Yom say, tell me B'Bachar, V'Eichel? What about a Bachar? Why don't we have a similar story by a Bachar that he should ask for the Bachar? Explains the Gemara, Mishem Damar Lei, because the Kain corresponds, Makim Sha'ir Kaichi V'Chatz Yisrael Nesheva Avadi, the Chisascha Mechatz Yisrael. Makim Sha'ir Kaichi V'Bachar, the Kulei Dilai. In the case of the Bachar, in which you have a Afa Kayach, the Kulei Dilai, it's completely mind. It's Pashin and Ninjach, man. Of course I can push you away from it. But says the Gemara, but wait, the Tvul Yom corresponds. You're right, I'm pushed away from the Chatas. Why? Just like you have a weak constraint, so do I. So for Ekter V'achai, we should be able to have the same conversation by a Bachar. Harei Oimer, therefore the Torah says 4 lines to the bottom, as Damam Tizraik, Al Mizbachach Aves Chalvaim, Taktia Rubasarim Yelecha. And from this pasuk, what do we learn? Ba Zraik Va'ichal, that those who are able to do the Zrika will come and eat it. So Rav Achai says we could have learned the same exact type of limud. Klab Ebachar. Vedach. So why didn't Rav Lazar Rav Shimon say this? Parech Miksevu Basarim Lakayin. Hazayrik, does the pasuk say, and it shall be for the kayin who does the zrika, ubesaram yelecha. The pasuk is not explicit, because if it just says that the meat is his, afilu kayin acher, even to another kayin, and therefore Rav Lazar Rav Shimon argues that even one who's not able to do the zrika should be able to get a chelek in the bechar. Ve'echi avid hachi. So says the Gemara after this whole lengthy discussion. If you remember when this whole story started, where did the story start? The story began in a Beis HaKisei, in a bathroom. If we go all the way up on the last narrow line, what happened? Lazar Rav Shimon Gamirna Damar be Beis HaKisei. So asked the Gemara after we went through this whole long and lengthy brisa, how could this be? On the last line of so how is he allowed to have these shailas? How is he allowed to declare this whole sugya in the Beis HaKisei? Says Gemara, you know why? La'inzai shiny. Lazar Rav Shimon, it was an eines, and therefore that was the reason it was different. If you look at the last Rashi, and the Amar Rashi says, Sha'isa shmuasai shkura bepev u'maharabal karchai. That there's no other way. It was so much on his mind that he was not able to be able to stop the thoughts. And that's why when he came out, he shared his entire thought process with Rav. That really wraps up yesterday's shir. And with that, we move over to Kaf Gimel Amud Aleph and a new Mishnah. A Mishnah that's now going to go into the Karban Oila, in which the Psukim and Vayikra teach us that the Karban Oila goes to the Kayin. The Karban Oila goes to the Kayin. Says the Gemara, Koshel Zacham, HaMizbeach beBisara. Whenever the Mizbeach does not get the chelik of the Oila's basar, then Lo Yizachu Kohanim Ba'ira, the Kohanim do not get the hide. Shenamar Oilas Ish. And from there we learn out, Oila Sha'olsa Le'ish. An Oila that worked for the person goes to the Kayin. And of course, the Chiddush or the din that the Mishnah is bringing out, as we'll see, is going to be the diak, which is if an Oila is not going to be Le'ish, then they will not go to the Kohanim. Explains the Mishnah. Oila shenishchata l'shalei lishma. If an Oila was shechted shalei lishma, afav b'shalei asal b'ailim, then in that unique case of shalei lishma, Oira will yes go l'kohanim. The hides will go to the Kohanim. Echad Oilas ish, echad Oilas isha. Oira seyan l'kohanim. Continues the Mishnah. That's when it comes to an Oila. What about Oira is kachei kalim l'bailim? The Oira is of a kachei kalim as well go to the owner. Oira is kachim, go to where? To the Kohanim. Kalva chaymer. Where do we learn this out from? Says the Gemara. This is a kalva chaymer. Umaim oila shaloi zach b'b'sayra. In the case of an oila, in which what? The Kohanim, excuse me, we're a little bit stuck over here. In the case of an oila, in which the Kohanim, in the case of an Oila in which the Kohanim do not get the schos of the basar zachu ba'ira, yet they get the hide. Of course, we know that an Oila is kulei l'Hashem, so they don't get to eat the flesh of the carbon, but they yes get the hides. Kachei kachim shezachu b'b'sari nadinchi yizchu ba'ira. If the kachei kachim, the Kohanim gets the actual flesh, the basar, the meat, certainly it should get the Oira. Ein mizbeach yechiach she'ein lecha oyer b'chol makom. Says the Gemara, the mizbeach is not a kasha. Why not? Because the mizbeach does not receive she'ein lecha oyer b'chol makom. It never receives the R. Meaning, what does this end of the Mishnah mean? Says Rashi, and this really is going to come up more in Amud Beis, that you cannot say that from the fact that the Mizbeach gets the Karban Ayla, it doesn't get the R. Maybe it shows that they're not connected. Meaning, the Mizbeach eats, quote unquote, consumes the Karban Ayla, and yet does the Mizbeach get the hides? No. So maybe that should prove to you that the schus for the hides and the basar HaKarban are not intrinsically connected. Says the Gemara, don't ask that kasha. We'll see more about this on Amud Beis. Begins the Gemara. Let's dive into the Karban Ayla in different cases in which the Kayin would perhaps not get the R of the Karban. Tanarabanan Aylas Ish. Says the Torah, the Ayla of a person, Pralo Aylas Hakdish. Divi Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda, Imir Pralo Aylas Gerim. My Pralo Aylas, I like this, what does that mean? Amar Chebar Yaise Pralo Ayla. Haba min ha-moisarais. This comes to exclude an ayla that comes from the moisarais, the excess that is brought as a karban. That ayla does not have its hides that are going to the kohanim. If the excess is a karban, is a considered a nidav of the tzibur, I understand what you just said. Ela frakti gemara lemanda amar meisaris lenidvasi yochid azli Michael Meimar. What are you going to say? Explains the Gemara 5 lines from the Y lines. Amar Rava ha'ayla ayla rishana chani ha'ayla ayla rishana Rav Evu amar Rav Yanai. And so that's din number 1. That's the exclusion number 1 of the ayla going, the hides going to the kehanim. Continues the Gemara. Rav Evu amar Rav Yanai comes along and says that what did Rav Yehuda say? The pasuk excludes an oil of hektish. Says Rav Yimam, Rav Yanai, no, there's a different way of learning the pasuk. Problem matvis oila lebedika b'hais, an oil that's brought from the funds of the upkeep of the Beis Hamikdash. Loibi bar leman davar kodesh bedika b'hais tafsi midaraisa, that the kedusha goes midaraisa. Lafil leman damar lo tafsi ani mili basar. Aval ar is going to yes. Tafis. V'chein Rav Nachman Amar Rav Avua Prala Oila Haba Min Hamoisarais. So it is going to be a similar exclusion. Amar Rav Amnun Rav Nachman Keman. Who does this fit like? Rav Yehuda. This goes like Rav Yehuda that says, like we just said, that the R will be part of this exclusion. As the Gemara now says, Ayha Hadir Bey. By he was chayzer. So Titania, let's understand the shitas of Yehuda that we're coming to say he does hold like this, he doesn't hold like this. Let's see. Third of my line says the Gemara Braisa Shisha Linidava. There were 6 collections, 6 boxes, chests that were used for the different donations to the Beis Hamikdash. Remember, we learned this way back when in Gemara Mishnah and Shkalim. There were 13 actual boxes. Of the 13, there were old shkalim, new shkalim, ayla, the wood, etc. And then 6 were for extra karbanos tzibur. Says the Gemara, what were they used for? Ayla b'amin hamasaris. Shayu kahanim zakayin ba'ayra divid Rabbi Yehuda. They are used as an ayla in which the kahanim do not get a schos in the ar. Amr Rav Nechemya. Fraknam Nechemya, v'amila Rav Shimon, and some say Rav Shimon, imkein batalta b'josh shel Yehoyada HaKayin. Based on what you just said, that these 6 collection boxes are used for the Nidvas HaSibur, and the R does not go to the Kohanim. You are removing this, you're being batal from the drasha of Yehoyada HaKayin. What's this drasha? Titania or Titanan? Some have a girsa. Zem medrash darash Yehoyada HaKayin. The following medrash Ashamu Asham says the Torah Ashamu Asham Asham Hashem Kol Shabbat Misham Chatos Misham Asham Yilokach Aboy Oilos. Anything that comes as a Chatos or an Asham is used to purchase an Oila. Habasar L'Sheim. And the basar is l'shem, is for Hashem. Oira is l'kohanim, and the hides go to the kohanim. So Rav Yehuda said the R does not go to the kohanim, And on there, Rav Nechemia and Rav Shimon said, no, then you're getting rid of the medrash of Yayada HaKoyin, who says what? That the hides, yes, go to the Kohanim. So says the Gemara, Amarle, so Rav Nachman responds, Elamar b'may mukimla. So how do you darshan up the psukim? What's Rav Yehuda going to do? Amarle, mukminan le, b'makdish nechasa v'uchd Rav Yeshua. We're going to explain it in case of someone who's makdish his properties according to Rav Yeshua, that's not. Ha-makdish nechasa v'ibem behemos haru'uyas ligavi mizbeach. So who's makdish his properties and he has animals that are right for the mizbeach. Zevachim unekevois male and female animals are blessed. Omer Zevachim yuachlu sarchei oilos. The caves yuachlu sarchei zevchei shlamim. Udemeim yipluim shar nisachim lebedik abayis. Shita Rishayna Rav Eliezer Rav Yeshua. Omer Zevachim atzman. Don't sell them. The Zevachim themselves they are kivu oilos. Unekevois yuachlu sarchei shlamim. V'vim ve'em oilos v'shar nechasim. Yiplu lebedik abayis. Vafilu Rav Yeshua, and even the second sheet holds Amar Adam Chayle Kekdishu. Even according to Rav Yeshua, says the Gemara who holds that a person is Adam Chayle Kekdishu, a person differentiates in that which he is makdish, meaning that the Zecharim, the male animals, he wants to go straight to Beis HaMikdash to Karbanos. Hani Mili Basar. Aval Ar Tafis. But the hides takes hold of the Kedushas Abayis, and therefore the hide goes to the Bedik Abayis and not to the Kohanim. And this is going to be the Makar, similar to what we just said, that the will not go to the Kohanim in such a scenario. Rav Yehuda, what does he hold? 6 lines in the bottom. Oimer, Pra Loilas Gerim. Says Rav Yehuda that when the pasuk says Oila, comes to exclude the Oila of Gerim. Amli Rav Simai Bar Chelkayo the Ravina to Ger Lavishu. Why? Why is he coming to exclude a Ger? Is he not called an Ish? Amar Le, you're right. Probably Ger Shemes. Vein Lo Yarshim. Continues the Gemara, 4 lines to the bottom. Tana Rabbanan. We're going to dive into Abraisa, which is going to have Mekayrais for a lot of the dinim that we just spoke about in our Mishnah. Tana Rabbanan Oilas Ish, says the pasuk. Oilas Ish Oilas Gerim Nashim Vavadim Inayim. The pasuk says that the oil of the Ish, the hide, goes to the Kohanim. Says the Gemara, what about the oil of Gerim Nashim Vavadim? Talmud Loimar says the Torah Arha Oila Riba. It comes to include. Why does the Torah say Oilas Ish? Oila She'alsa Le'ish. It has to be Oila, as the Mishnah taught us. Has to work for a person, which excludes an Oila, which is Shechted Chutz Zman Chutz Mekayim Shli Yakohanim Zakayin Ba'ira. And since it's such a case, it does not work for the Bailim. Therefore, the Kohanim are not Zaycha in the hides. So maybe Shalishma should be the same thing as Shalishma also does not work for the Bailim. Says the Gemara, and therefore what to Kuf Gimel Mebeis. Leikanim Zakayin Ba'ira. I apologize, the highlighting will be back in a moment. Top line of Amid Beis Zakayanim shouldn't have any schos in the hide. That's what you would have thought. Talmud Laimar says the Torah no Arha'ila Mikava Babal Makaim Arha'ila and ainly Allah Arha'ila continues the Braisa. Oirais Kache Kache Minaim. How do we know Kache Kache? Talmud Arha'ila Sheikh Rav Yachal Shani Marba Av Kachim Kalim. Maybe all ours. Tamlamar Oila, Ma'ila, Kache Kachim, Avkal, Kache Kachim, that's the drasha, not just Oila, but also all Kache Kachim, Shita number 1. Rabbi Ishmael, Aimer, Arha, Oila, in Liala, Oila, Oirais Kache Kachim, in Aim, Dinu, Ma'ila, Shalei Zacha, Bibsara. Yet, Zacha Bayra, the Kayin, doesn't get the basar of the carbon, but he gets its the hides. Kache Kachim, it's Pashit. Why? Shezachu bibisar, and they can't even get their basar of the kache kachim. Eina ditch zachu bayir, and of course they get ar. Says the Gemara, no. Mizbeach yichichu, that what? Shezachu bebasar, v'lo zachu bahar. Frek the Gemara, but wait, malam mizbeach, shkin lo zachu b'mixas, tamer b'kanim shezachu mixas. Hav zachu mixas, zachu b'kulei. Shita of Rabbi Ishmael. Rabbi Aimer, a third shita. Kol atzmai lo yitzrichu. Says Rabbi, we don't need this entire pasuk. V'lo ar ha'ila bilvad. Nor do we need. Excuse me. Kol atzmai lo yitzrichu ella lo ar ha'ila bilvad. We only need this pasuk for the din of the ar of the ha'ila. Shebachol makayim ha'ar mahalich achar basar. Because generally, what's the story? The ar goes to where the meat goes. Parim anishchatim misrim anisrafim. Those are exclusions. Those are unique. Kain vayresei and nisrafin himayim. They and their hides are burnt. Chatas v'ashev zivchei shal meitzibur. Excuse me. That follows the rule that wherever the basar goes, the ar goes. That what it goes to be completely burnt. Case number 2. Chatas v'ashev zivchei shal meitzibur as well. Matana l'kayin. Both it and its hide goes to the kayin. Ratu, the Kayanim could decide, Mafshit and something could skin the animals, lo Ratu, Oichlan I say. They could Oichlan Asana Gavair and they keep it with the skin. Kache Kalim, Libailim, Kache Kalim as well. Where does the carbon go? Goes to the Baal. As well, the Ar will go to the Baal. Ratu Mafshit and I said Ratu Oichlan Asana Gavair. Avoloila, those are all the general cases, they're all the cases in which the Ar and the basar all goes to the same place, but says the brisa the oila is different. Says the Torah, shech the oila and cut into pieces. What do we see? The Torah is splitting the two, the basar and the ar. I would think I would think from this basik that the kohanim do not have a schos in the ar. The ar of the oila that he was makrif, which shows us that the ar of the oila indeed goes to the kehanim, even though, of course, the basar of the oila does not go to the kehanim. Continues the brayso, 6 lines from the wide lines. Lo yeh, it goes to him. Prat litvol yoim. This excludes of tvol yoim, chosar kippurim, v'oinen, that all of these cases, they do not get the ar, because these are people that are not able to be makar of the carbon. Sheyachal, I would think, lo yizku be basar. Maybe they should not get the basar shula achila. Yizku bar she'ein ala achila. If you can't get the basar, they should at least get the hide. Ta'amalei mar lo yeh. No, says the Torah, lo yeh. Problem achosar kippurim mitzvah yoim va'oinen. That all of these people, because they're not able, they're puzzled from bringing the carbon, they as well don't get the schos in the ar. V'tanakama, frekti gemara. So how does the Tanakama answer up all these drushes? Nami tebeglei medina. Why doesn't he also learn from the Kavachimer that Rabbi Ishmael just learned? We just finished that. We have 3 shitas in the brayso. We have the Tanakama, we have Rabbi Ishmael, and we have Rabbi. So frekti gemara. Why does the Tanakama learn like the Kavachimer of Rabbi Ishmael? Answers the Gemara. Milsa da'asi b'Kavachimer tarach l'kas l'kra. He says, in a chanami, we have a kal v'chaimer, but still it makes sense that the Torah writes a pasuk. Rabbi Shmuel, the second shita. Hi, moving on to the first white line, Asher Hikriv, my avile. What does he do with the pasuk of the Tanakam of Asher Hikriv? Pratlet v'yoyim, v'chosar kippurim, v'oinin. Frakti Gemara, v'tepeglei, lo yiyeh. Says the Gemara, why does Rabbi Shmuel learn it out from lo yiyeh? Like Rebbe did the third shita. Rabbi Shmuel l'taimei, Amar Rav Yechon Mishum Rabbi Shmuel, Nemar by the lo yiyeh, V'nemar b'Hashem lo yiyeh, Malahalon, just like by the Asham, Atzmaisa Mutarim, just like by the Asham, the bones are mutter to the Kehanim Afkan, by the Oila, it's Mutarim. And meaning that's what he does with the pasuk of lo yiyeh. So says the Gemara, and the only way to learn this Gzeir Shava is mufni. That the words lo yiyeh have to be excess. Dilay mufni, because if not, he can lemefrach malash kein besarai mutter lo yiyeh kra yisirahus. Lo yiyeh, excuse me, kra yisiru. Says where you're right. It only does work because lo yiyeh is indeed mufni. It is indeed an extra pasuk, and because it's an extra pasuk, we're not bothered by the fact that we have a kasha that the Asham and the Oil are not the same. We could learn that from lo yiyeh. That is the 3 shitas, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi, and Rebbe as they relate, Tanakam, Rabbi Shmuel, and Rebbe as they relate to each other. We'll pick it up from the Mishnah, B'siyata Dishmaya.